Well, Coach, first official practice, and back to, obviously you guys have been working, but first official and being back in the court, is more exciting this day, or is the first game of the year? What's more exciting for you?
Between practice and
I guess the actual start of the season.
no, today's obviously an exciting day for any, basketball team that is starting their first official practice, and I'm sure the girls are more anxious just to be done with the conditioning part of the season, but I'm just anxious. Obviously we have a lot of new players, and I'm just anxious to kind of figure out how the pieces are going to come together and to really get out there starting today and figuring out, what's the system we're going to play this year, what things do we need to change from last year and still put a great product out on the floor.
Looking at the roster, there's obviously new players that you brought in. We've seen freshmen, we've seen sophomores. Tell us about the thought process of going with experience.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of junior college transfers. Obviously, if you look at my roster in the past few years, we've heavily recruited out of junior colleges, and yes, one might say that brings more experience than a high school player, which for obvious reasons it does. However, I will say that this is still a big jump, and at least in speaking for our program, the biggest transition I think right now for our 7 new players is just what the expectations are, and the demands on them to pay attention to detail and to really give everything they have every single possession, and that mistakes and slip-ups aren't going to be overlooked, and that you're just going to be held to a very high standard. And so regardless of what the competition was at the junior college level, I have found that that's usually the biggest transition for the new players, and it's no different this year. That has been definitely an adjustment for the new players.
You had a small roster last year, and just managing the team. It worked. Look here, is there a thing where you like in typical add more players, or do you feel like this roster is doable?
Well, just going off of numbers alone, I'm happy with the number that we're starting off this season with. And as far as does that mean we're going to have more quality depth? I don't know, because to me, numbers aren't everything. It's obviously figuring out, in particular, these 7 new players, how quickly they're going to adjust, how quickly they're going to pick up on things, what type of competitors are they. I'm going to learn a lot about our team in the next 3-4 weeks here as we practice, and so there's definitely a lot of question marks right now. Of course, the hope and the objective is to have more depth, but that's yet to be seen.
I got to be excited just to experience the returners. Now, the gals that are seniors, you obviously know a lot about them and what they can do for your program, but the excitement of that.
Right, we have 5 returning players. Maddie Hatch and Tyra Turner are the 2 players that have been in our program now for 3 years. This is going on their 4th year. Gabby Carbajal and Lexie Thrower, they got obviously a lot of quality minutes last year. Lexa obviously was a huge contributor for our team and made a big impact in our conference. So from that standpoint, there's certainly experience returning, but that we can't just rely on that. Again, we have to figure out of these 7 new players who's really going to be able to step in and accept their roles and really take it to heart and be an impact for our team and play efficiently on both ends of the floor.
Finding Thrower, coming down from Washington, and just the impact that she had with the team last year. Of those recruits, obviously you're bringing these players here for a reason, but are some of those players you feel like can make the kind of impact that she made last year?
Well, we hope so. Not quite sure, to be honest, right now. And even Lexie herself, just the changes. We just met with her the other day, and to talk to her about the changes she's made already in the preseason now is literally like night and day from how she was last year. And sometimes, it takes a year to be in this program to really understand and fully grasp what the expectations are and how hard you have to work every single day to be successful. And I've shared with Lex, she had a lot of success in this conference, but it's going to be tough for this year. And, scouting reports are going to be different this year when it comes to preparing for Lex. So there's a lot of other things, and I think she's done a tremendous job of just her mental approach to this season, starting from conditioning and just being really ready to take on these challenges. And she's just been a lot different as far as just having consistent, hard effort every day.
When you start the practice schedule, do you focus more on defense, or what do you emphasize more in the first, if you guys get going?
Well, today's our first day, and there's definitely going to be more defense going on today than offense. And we have losing our 2 seniors with Isamar and Giovanna last year. That's about 25 points. that we've lost from a scoring standpoint. I think we averaged about 70 points last year, and we got to find, not that we have to average 70 points to be successful. However, who's going to make up some of that? And maybe we're going to be a team that averages around 60 points, and that's fine as long as we're solid and efficient on the defensive end. So, anybody that knows our programs, everything kind of starts with the defensive end with us. The success that we have been fortunate enough to have the last 2 years, that's where it starts, and we just have to play at a very high level of intensity on the defensive end, and that's certainly going to be a message that I'll be sending today in practice.
For the first time ever, you guys will have instant replay. And we've seen it, in college sports, in football, the pro level. But what are your thoughts now? I'm sure you got to learn about just the system, what you can and cannot do, and challenges how it's going to work. But what are your thoughts on having replay?
I'm happy. I really am. I was a proponent for this. I have been for a long time. As a coach, I've kind of been on both ends. In other words, a game where maybe we lost, or a game that maybe we won and we shouldn't. Back and forth. And I just want it to be right. I just want the players that are out there. They deserve. They've worked hard, and hopefully the officials can't see everything, and I just think it helps out the officials as well, especially in into the game situations where we just get it right, and so the team that's deserving to win comes out with the victory. And I think it's great that the conference has moved in this direction to mandate it with all the teams in our conference, and I think it just puts everybody on an even keel, and I think it's certainly a positive move.
Have they said how many reviews you can get, or is it something where the coach has to say, hey, can we take a look at this, or is it more the official?
Yeah, it's not like NFL, we have a certain number of challenges, or it's nothing like that. There's a list of things that are considered reviewable. In other words, you can't just ask for anything. And then it's also in the last minute or two of the game where you can review those. So you can only review certain things. And there's a list of things that the officials know, and obviously coaches know as well that those are things that we can look at.
You said the 7 new players, just like anyone else, are going to be expected to live up to those expectations you were talking about. What specifically are those expectations that you
A couple of things. One is, again, just getting accustomed to the level of intensity that they literally have to bring out every single possession. And if I had to say a second thing, I would just say understanding the importance. They've, no disrespect to any programs that anybody's come from, but I'm not a coach who just watches a mistake and just lets it go. We got to get it, and we got to get it right. And so that kind of a standard where they're expected to do those things consistently is tough. And so I'm still learning, what players are going to accept that and really thrive in those situations to help us move forward. And the jury's kind of out. We've learned a little bit here in the last 6-7 weeks, but now that we're going to be in full practice, like I said, I'll be learning a lot about the team in the next month.
Obviously everyone's different, new players every year, but how do those new players generally ease into living up to those expectations?
Well, it's obviously a lot of it starts with myself and just the tone that I set. But I will say our 5 returners have done a really good job these last 6-7 weeks in our preseason workouts to help be an extension of myself and to be an extension of Coach Hankins as far as this is how we do things, this is what we need from each other. And I think they've just showed a tremendous balance between working their tails off and having fun doing it. The chemistry has been great, which I wasn't sure how that would be with 7 new players. And they've really meshed very well in this preseason. And so I think I got to give a lot of credit to the returners on really, they know what it takes. They know what it takes to win. And the more they can be an extension of myself and Coach Hankins to help send that message, and they've definitely been doing it, the sooner that the newcomers are going to pick up.
Awesome. The first day of practice was today, right?
It's today at 3:15, a couple hours from now. Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Lumberjack.